Hi, I'm Jim Garris from University Presbyterian Church in Seattle, and this is a story taught in the Godly Place style that our story review team wrote called The Journeys of Paul. The purpose of this story is it's centered around Paul's willingness to continue to overcome hardship and to just tell everyone that he knew about Jesus. And so one of the things personally that keeps me wondering, even as an adult, is what was it that kept Paul moving on to the next city and proclaiming the gospel fearlessly through all the things. And so that's what this story is intended to capture. I'm going to tell a story that's of a length that's probably a little shorter than the script that's posted. Those of you that have access to the script could also tell a longer version of the story, and you can also shorten the story from where I go in this video. You could also feel free to add little snippets from what you remember of Paul's journeys if that helps you tell the story in a way that makes it more your own. So here it is, The Journeys of Paul. After Jesus stopped Paul with a bright light and a loud voice on the way to Damascus, he put Saul's life on a new path. When Saul moved on to Damascus, he learned that God had a new job for him, a job that he would do the whole rest of his life. To tell everyone that he knew the big secret that he'd learned. That Jesus died, Jesus rose again, and Jesus loves them. After Saul found out about his new job, he wanted to get started right away, and so he began to tell all of the people in Damascus about Jesus. Some of the people eagerly listened to what Saul had to say, and they too began to love Jesus and follow him. But other people didn't like Saul telling people about Jesus, and they made a plan to kill Paul. Some of Saul's friends, came and put him in a basket and lowered him down from the city walls so he could escape. Saul went down to Jerusalem hoping to meet with Peter and the other followers of Jesus there. Some of the people there were scared of Saul because he had caused a lot of trouble for the Christians in Jerusalem. But a man named Barnabas got to know Saul in Jerusalem and became his friend. After a while, some of the people that didn't like Saul telling people about Jesus in Jerusalem made a plan to hurt Saul. But his friends helped him escape. He got into a boat and he sailed back to his home in Tarsus. Sometime later, Barnabas came and found Saul in Tarsus and took him back to a city named Antioch. There, Saul was free to tell people about Jesus, and the people eagerly listened. They began to think after a while, this secret about Jesus is too important for us to keep it just here in Antioch. We need to choose some people to go and tell others about Jesus. So they thought and they prayed, who should we send? Who do you think they chose? They chose Saul and Barnabas. Saul and Barnabas got on a boat and they sailed out first to some of the islands. They got off and told people there about Jesus. And they got back on the boat, and they sailed to the mainland, and they traveled around telling people about Jesus. Every place they went. Wherever they went, when they told people Jesus died, Jesus is alive, and Jesus loves you, some people were filled with joy, and other people got mad. And sometimes the people that got mad did bad things to Saul, whose name by now was changed to Paul. Sometimes they threw him out of the city, and Saul just dusted himself off and moved along to the next city. Sometimes they threw him in jail. But even when he was in jail, Paul didn't stop telling other people about Jesus. He told the other prisoners, he told the jailer, he told the guards. And eventually, when Paul got out of prison, he'd move along to the next town and tell people about Jesus. After a long while in many towns, Paul and Barnabas went back to Antioch to tell all of the people there about all of the new people they had met that now knew about Jesus. But there were still people that didn't know about Jesus. And Saul took many journeys, 3 journeys, traveling around, sometimes on a boat and sometimes on land. But everywhere he went, he told people about Jesus. At the end of Saul's life, Saul was even in jail for a long time. And you know what he did when he was in jail? He wrote letters to all of those people, all of those churches he had started all across the world to tell them more about Jesus and to find out how they were doing. And you know what? We can find those stories today in our Bible. There are lots of books that Paul wrote in our Bible, almost half of the New Testament. We can also read about all of Saul and Paul's adventures in the book of Acts, where Luke tells us all about what happened to Saul and Paul. Many more stories than we have time for today. But that's the story for today of Paul and his journeys. Now I wonder what you liked best about this story. I wonder if Paul was frightened when people tried to do bad things to him. I wonder why Paul kept going on to the next city to tell people about Jesus. I wonder if there are people in my life that haven't heard about Jesus. I wonder if I could tell them.